good morning. It is, if you can believe it or not, it is day 28 of Flippin Live. It's Saturday, May 30th, 2020, and it's day 28. This is 4 weeks exactly of going live here on my channel, talking about reselling, all types of stuff, reselling and chatting with everybody and trying to provide some entertainment and some engagement during these quarantine times. So it is Saturday, it's 7 a.m. here on the West Coast, and we'll see how many people show up. I know that if you're watching from the Midwest or from middle of the country, the East Coast, that it's a little later. It's possibly 9 o'clock, 10 a.m., but it is Saturday, so we'll see. If you're watching this later, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. And let's talk about the main theme I wanted to talk about some other stuff too, but I want to talk about whether or not it's worth it to purchase a book reselling course if you are a beginner, and also us veterans, when we look back on it, whether or not it would be worth it to do that as well, if we think that would be something that would be advantageous. So let's get started with Flippin' Live.
Flippin' Live, Flippin' Live, Flippin' Live, Flippin' Live, Flippin' Live. We're gonna strive, we're here to learn and gonna earn. Flippin' Live, Flippin' Live, Flippin' Live, Flippin' Live.
Good morning again to everybody here watching live, and to those in the future who will be watching the show. See, we have a couple people watching on this early Saturday morning. Again, my name is Andrew from 510 Books. I have been reselling for close to 6 years now, going back to 2014, if you can believe it. And I started out with books, and I've gotten into a lot of different types of media to resell, and now I'm kind of coming full circle and going back into books even heavier because of my the ads I'm running and the donations I'm trying to solicit and that type of thing. But I wanted to talk about whether you feel, or how the concept of, or the idea of, not the concept, the idea of what do you call it? My hair's a mess. It's so long. Let me turn this down. Of buying a reselling course. So there's not very many that I'm aware of. There's not very many courses for book reselling. I know of at least two that you have to pay for. I mean, I know of another one that's free, or they say it's free, and I don't know how much information there is. It's mostly just a way to try to get your email address for an email list. But there's probably other ones I'm just not aware of that are buried somewhere that maybe aren't being marketed very well. You know, it's funny is if you type into Google book reselling course, and then it says book, and Google says, don't you mean book selling? And if you say book selling course, there's one that pops up. Well, there's another one too. Book, it's the same thing. It's someone talking about, as an affiliate, talking about the same one. Here's another one. I don't know if this one's any good. There's one called, here, I will show you. So here, when you go book selling course, I put reselling, but I guess book selling. There's Book Selling 101 by Jim Pickens. And then this one here is talking about Book Selling 101. It's probably an affiliate link. Let's see, is this a course? Why Amazon Altitude? Oh, there's another one, Amazon Altitude. Okay. Oh, right. Peter Valley from the Oh, comprehensive video course, how to build a six-figure Amazon FBA book selling course. Here's another one, Amazon Altitude. Let's see, how much is this one? $247. So we've got one for $247. Man. And then this one here, the book selling 101, is I looked at it earlier, is 97, I believe, dollars. Here it is. No monthly fees, $97. So that one's 97. A better book selling course. Here's this one. Start selling on Amazon, learn faster, sooner, profit quicker. They always show, look at this, total orders 6,000. Who has 6,971 orders, by the way? Please tell me. That's a bulk seller. What? No. Start learning now. That guy will teach you. Josh Rodriguez. I create time freedom. Okay, so does it say how much? 37. Oh, that's inexpensive. So $37. Wow. Maybe that's the better one, huh? A better book selling course. That's the same one. That's Amazon. So anyway, those are a few. I know there's another one. I know there is another one that just came out that is not available yet, at least according to their website. So that's at least 1, 2, 3, and then there's another one that I don't know how much they're going to charge for that one. That's a fourth one. So $37 one, $97 one, $247 for one, and this new one I don't know what it's going to be, what they're going to charge for it. So there are a few, at least 4 that I'm aware of. There might be more. 4 paid courses. There's probably more I just don't know about. Excuse me. And should you as a newbie invest in these courses? Well, I feel that. Well, before I get into what I feel, so some of the the pros that you could consider about buying a course is the idea is that you make less mistakes, right? That you avoid some pitfalls, some potential things that you might not know about when you're first starting, wasting your time here or there, and instead you can learn that to avoid those things through the course. Also provides a shortcut, right? Shortcuts, I should say, of how to get from point A to point B. As in, starting brand new, what are the tools you need, that type of stuff, so that you can get out there and start finding books. Where should you go to source? Then you find some books, and then I'm sure the courses show you how to list, either use it through Amazon or using a third-party listings service like AccelerList or Turbo Lister or what's the other one called? There's a couple others, but I'm sure that those are part of the courses as well, I would assume, because listing is a big part of it. And I'm sure there's affiliate links for those and whatnot within the book or within the courses. And so shows you some shortcuts with that type of stuff. Maybe repricing as well, disposing of your items, how you can automate that, how you can invest in a repricer, or buy a repricer, pay for a repricer to save time with that. Probably things like, instead of a repricer, you could hire a VA, virtual assistant, that's in the Philippines and pay them $2 an hour, and then they reprice your books for you a couple hours a day, or whatever it may be. All these different ideas, ways of shortcutting your path to success, or making money at all, or some money. Those are here, by the way, live. Please feel free to offer any to chat, because it is a live stream. So If you have any questions or comments, you can do that. So those are some of the benefits of it is finding a shortcut and making less mistakes, and also just getting some good tips from a veteran about how to make more money, how to be more efficient, all those types of things, kind of getting a jump start on it. um, but oh, I heard somebody. Pat. Yeah, I'm getting to it, Pat. I'm getting to it. Absolutely. He says take the 37 to 247, buy inventory. Yeah. And so some of the cons, right? So here's the thing. It's a course. So you get kind of bogged down in all the information. Uh, that's a con to me. You can sit here and watch like the course, the $97 course, the one that's up there by Jim Pickens. I've heard a lot of positive things about it from people. Like when it first came out a few years ago, people were saying it's really good. That's the one I recommend. I just saw the other day someone ask about on a Facebook group, hey, is there any good courses to learn book selling? And that was the one that was recommended. So maybe it's a great course. Maybe it's honest. Maybe it's upfront. Maybe it has a lot of good information. I did notice that he said there's 10 hours of video worth of videos in his course, and was listing all the different topics he talks about. But the thing is, you're gonna sit in front of your computer and get bogged down by all the information. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, let's make sure I do that. Let's make sure I don't do that. And you're gonna list all these things out, have them all in your head, and you're gonna be thinking of all those things swirling in your head as you're actually going out and doing it. That I think it can bog you down and make you apprehensive about making a mistake, or about going through that learning process. And that plays into my next point of another con or another disadvantage, is that you're doing too much watching and reading versus actually doing. So watching 10 hours of video doesn't get you any closer to learning about how the business runs. It gives you some shortcuts, some tips, but you don't actually know how to do it until you actually do it. So unless you're going to hire somebody to do it for you, you have to do it. You can't know what to do until you do it. Even if you, oh, I watched this, I watched these 10 hours, 12, 15 hours of video. Now I'm a book pro. I know, talking to your friend, let's say, I know how to do it. I just spent the weekend watching this course. Oh, so you've started selling? No, but I know what to do. um, Also, I said a pro is you'll make less mistakes, but a con is you'll make less mistakes. So the best way to learn, you can apply this to life in general, is to, make mistakes, correct, and don't make those mistakes again, and keep it moving until you bump into more mistakes, or more, what should I say? You bump into barriers, or you make a mistake and then you learn how to get around that and do it the right way, or do it a much better way. So, I agree with Pat too. If I were to, if I could get in a time machine and go back and say, which I don't think there were any courses back in 2014 about books reselling specifically. There were some videos on YouTube, which is how I learned a little bit about it, but not like today, where you can find thousands of videos about book reselling. And now there's at least 4 paid courses that I'm aware of. There's probably more. But even if there was at least one available back then, I don't know if I would have bought it. I might have, but thinking now, back in the past, I'm glad I didn't, if there even was one available, which I wasn't aware of. But I'm glad I did not. I know there was a course, which is from a lady, I can't remember her name. She was a reseller here in California, not doing books, doing retail arbitrage and all that other type of retail stuff, who had a course, I'm assuming still has a course, has a blog and everything about her and her family doing that stuff, and has videos. She had a course, but in terms of book reselling, I don't know if there was. But I will say there's no substitute for actually doing it yourself and learning yourself and putting in the hours and the time of learning how to source, learning how to list, learning how to reprice yourself. And also here, even back then, there was YouTube, of course, 6 years ago when I started, which is how I learned some of the basics of reselling books. Now, YouTube is this plethora of free information. Um, my channel has a lot of videos about it. There's plenty of other channels that have a lot of videos about book reselling. So there is a lot of free information. Now, granted, a lot of it is all over the place, but there are some channels I'm sure that have like a playlist of 10 videos about book reselling, that type of thing. I mean, I could probably put together, well, I know I could create some original videos about from A to Z, starting brand new, get your account set up, all that stuff. It's still videos though, but it will be helpful. But instead of paying for it, you can just get it for free, or even better, just go out there and start doing it. I highly recommend the place probably you can learn the most, which I learned the most, is free Facebook groups. So there's probably 3 or 4 that I'm a part of. There's one main one that has to do with reselling books on Amazon and eBay. So both. You can ask questions and search their posts for book reselling on both platforms. And there's a plethora of free information. People will actually, you ask a question, people will respond. Some are nicer than others. Some are more upfront than others, but a lot of people will answer your questions, and that's definitely worth. I'd say that's worth more of your time than paying for a course. And like Pat said, take that money, right? Take that couple $100 or whatever it may cost and go buy some inventory. For $37, you can go buy 37 books for $1 a piece, and you learn more by scanning through hundreds of books to find those 37 books, and then going through the process of shipping it in to FBA, let's say, and then eventually when they hit the warehouse and go live and start selling and seeing which ones sell, that's a better investment in your brand new book reselling business or book selling business than sitting there in front of your screen reading or watching videos any day of the week, right? So the $97, I think about, wow, you could buy 97 books for $1 a piece, and you can turn that around and turn that into hundreds of dollars easily. I mean, easily in the beginning, not so easily because you're still learning, but even if you end up selling half those books, let's say you sell about 50 books at, let's just say $5 profit. What is that? Is that $250? Something like that. You just made a couple $100, right? I'm saying profit. So profit. You'll probably sell more than half. Well, who knows? Maybe in the beginning it was tough, right? For me, I know there was a learning curve. So the way to get through that learning curve the best is to just do it yourself. Now you can get some tips, but like I said, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend buying these courses. There's all kinds of courses for all types of business opportunities. Am I right? I mean, you've probably been, a lot of the YouTube ads are people trying to sell you a course. I mean, how many courses have we seen on the YouTube ads for all types of things, right? I just saw probably over the last couple of weeks, I've seen probably 6 different people trying to sell a course about investing in the stock market because of the stock market crashing and lots of stocks being on sale right now. I'm assuming that's why, of course. I've seen so many courses through Facebook or YouTube ads about reselling on Amazon, but doing private label or doing wholesale. I mean, these ads are ridiculous. People they're like, oh, here's how I made 6 figures. Here I made 7 figures. Here's how I made it's 7 figures in sales, that type of stuff. Here's my big house and all that. And so there's a lot of courses, and I think one of the downsides of these courses, whether it's one of these ones that is teaching you how to, I don't know, start whatever business it may be, or book reselling, is they show you all these big numbers that they very well may have done and are still doing. There's always big success stories. However, a lot of people, even on the sales pages that I saw of some of these book reselling courses, they're showing these big numbers. I mean, he shows 6,200 sales. I don't know if that was a whole year or if that was, I don't know the time period, but even if it was a year, the chances of you starting out and making, I think it was like over 100 grand in gross sales. of you doing that within your first year is slim to none. Not because you aren't smart enough or because you don't have the work ethic, but for other reasons beyond your control, right? Such as maybe you're not going to be very good at this business, such as it's very location dependent, as in if you live in a sparsely populated area of the country, then it's going to be harder for you to find books to resell. It doesn't mean you can't find them. It's just different for you than it is for someone like me who lives in a densely populated area where I can find, normally, of course, pre COVID 19, I can find, and eventually post COVID 19, I can find dozens, not kidding, dozens of thrift stores within 20-mile radius. Whereas you might have a hard time finding one thrift store within a 20-mile radius. Now, thrift store is not the only option, of course. Like as we talked about in other videos, right? There's garage sales, there's estate sales. But if you're only 10,000 people within a 20-mile radius versus 20-mile radius, there's hundreds of thousands of people, maybe even into the millions in Southern California here, at least where I live. And 20 miles doesn't even reach LA. I mean, get to LA, forget it. LA County is like 9 million people or maybe more. So, so where I live, there's plenty of opportunity. So anyway, a lot of those things are dependent on where you live and how much. Also, the other thing is how much time do you have to put into it? If you're working full time or part time, but especially full time, even if you don't have kids or family, you're limited in your time that you can put into it. If you're working part time and you're trying to make the book business become a full time thing, then you have more time. Maybe you can do that. So it often can be misleading. I understand the potential is there, but it's very misleading, when you see those types of numbers on these courses. And it's not just book selling courses, of course. Just about every course you can buy will show you the potential income you can make, and it's all potential. And maybe you'll make that kind of money, but you can kind of feel bad if you're not making that kind of money, or if you're not coming even close to it. So I just, why do people create any courses at all, right? The idea is that they have the knowledge, and so they're trying to monetize that knowledge, which I guess is fine. But a lot of these courses, and I can't speak personally about these book selling courses, of course, but because I haven't taken any of them. But regardless of if they're amazing or not, this is someone who sold books themselves and decided, hey, why don't I start a course and charge money for it and make extra money just sharing my information, which is fine. You're perfectly okay to do that in our in this environment and be an entrepreneur. But I just feel like there's so much free information. If we were in the 90s or something, and or it was before YouTube, let's say the early 2000s, because YouTube didn't start until 2006, 2007. And there wasn't information really. Maybe there was some blog posts or whatever. Then maybe starting a course, let's say you started in the 90s, you're doing merchant fulfilled and you're trying to teach people how to do it. You start a course. Maybe that's the only game in town, right? If you want to learn. But nowadays, there's just so much information out there, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on people's websites, on their blogs. Excuse me. There's just a lot of data, a lot of information. So go for it if you want to, if you're willing, put out the money, shell out the money, and then what do you call it? Spend the time to do that. But I think that instead, pick up your phone, download the Amazon seller app, go to a thrift store, go anywhere where there's books, go to your own shelf and start scanning. Guess what? That's how you'll learn. Take that money and invest it in stock, in inventory, and you'll do well. So one of the courses he was talking about different ways to source, and like one of them said, ways that no one is teaching you. And there's really nothing that's out there that's so fancy that no one's talking about. There's a couple other ways to source that people don't talk about as much, like the 5 ways that I talked about, right? To go for books. I talked about thrift stores. I talked about garage sales, estate sales. Garage sales and yard sales. And then I talked about estate sales. And then I talked about library book sales. And then my fifth one, what my bonus one, I think. Uh, oh no, my fifth one was locally online through Facebook Marketplace, through OfferUp, through Nextdoor, through Let Go, right? And then my sixth bonus one was build relationships, which is important for all of those things. You always want to be building your relationships, right? And a lot of resellers in these courses and in general will tell you relationships are everything. Um, and the more people you know, the more people you tell about it, about what you're doing, the more books that will come to you. But another one that I didn't talk about is going to college campuses. And this is something other resellers probably in these courses will say, "Oh, this is a little known secret." So they'll say you get a bunch of cash and you go door to door to professors, right? With cash, saying, "Hey, I'm a book buyer. Do you have any textbooks you'd like to sell?" It's just door to door sales, right? So you have to be comfortable to do that. And guess what? Colleges have textbooks, and textbooks can be some of the most profitable books out there. You're going to have to pay up for them, but if you pay $40 for a book that's going to sell for $100, that's great profit, right? And also you're spending more money, but you're making a larger profit, versus spending $1 to make $5 to $10 profit. You spend $40 to make, I don't know, $50 profit, whatever it may be. So that's a way, right? You go door to door. Basically, what some people will say is, if you're younger, you can look like a student yourself and you're doing it to make extra money. But if you're older, like an old guy like me, or even just a little younger than me, you don't look like you're college age. You just work for a buyback company. You say, yeah, I work for a buyback company. Well, you shouldn't lie. But anyway, whatever your shtick is, whatever your scheme is, whatever your sales pitch is, it's basically just I'm buying back textbooks, and you go. I've never done this, of course, but you go to all the professors. Probably a lot of them won't even want to talk to you, but you can build relationships with professors like that to buy back books. You can also set up a buyback table at a college campus, which you have to get permission for, and then, which I'm not familiar with, but you can get permission, I'm sure. And I don't know if you have to actually have a company or if you can just do it, but you can set up buyback tables and buy books back from students at reasonable amounts, and then turn around and sell those for good profits, right? You're only going to buy certain books, I'm assuming. You could maybe get book donation bins and stick them on college campuses if you can get permission from the college campus. These are other ways that you can buy books, right? That I didn't talk about, that'll probably be talked about in some of these courses. If you're comfortable doing it. I see some other people here live. Good morning. This is Flippin Live. We go live every morning during quarantine. I see 6 people watching, which is awesome. Say hello in the chat. Please feel free to comment about what we're talking about, as I'm talking about it here. And, that's another way, as you can focus on colleges. I know of at least 2 people. I don't know them personally, but I know them through the Facebook groups, that buy that's their main business. That's their book. That's their sourcing. That's how they source. It's on college campuses. They go. So both of them go to college campuses in their area, or sometimes they'll go into other states and do it. And they just go knocking door to door to college professors' offices, and they flip books that way. One of them I know has built a lot of relationships with professors, and the professors just call them and let them know when they have new books in, or if they've built up, their own personal collection and they're trying to get rid of books. They call them and say, hey Jim, or hey Jose, hey Frank, hey Mary, come on over, whatever your name is, come on over to my house, come on over to my office, whatever it is, my storage unit. I got a couple hundred books, if you see if there's anything you want to buy. And the guy does like 6 figures just selling textbooks, and he knows textbooks very, very well. That's something else you can get into, which I hadn't talked about, right? But there you go. The secret has been spilled. So how do you do that? Well, just start doing it. Don't watch a course about it. Just go out there and start doing it. I'm uncomfortable going door to door to talk to professors. I would never do that. But if you don't care about getting rejected or getting yelled at, or I don't know if you get yelled at, but politely told to leave, or the door closed on your face, that you're bothering people, whatever. Hey, push through it, right? And you'll probably find some books. Uh, but that's trying to go for the more expensive stuff. I mean, I have a college professor in my family. I have college professor friends, so that's not even something that I've even tried to tap into. I have not even called them and said, "Hey, guess what? I resell books. If you know other professors that need books or that need to unload books, let me know." I haven't even done that. But if you know professors in your family, in your friend circle, if you live by a bunch of colleges, like I live near a bunch of colleges. Uh, anyway, so you can go that route. That's another way to potentially go to find books to resell. But it's entirely up to you how you want to go about that. In terms of other sources for books, I mean, there's not really, um, of course, Gaylords and that whole thing. But that's if you're trying to go bigger beyond yourself, trying to get into bulk and that kind of thing. So anyway, you guys are pretty quiet today. Please do participate in the chat because otherwise I'm just basically talking to you guys and it's not very interactive. So another thing, that's basically my 2 cents on reselling courses. I recommend not doing it. But if you're the kind of course person, if you've taken 10 courses before and you still haven't done any of those businesses, then maybe you're just a professional course buyer. And I don't recommend that. I recommend for book selling, you just learn yourself. There's no substitute for doing all of it yourself and learning everything yourself and asking questions along the way. Join some Facebook groups for reselling books and follow some YouTubers like myself and others who resell books who actually still do it versus now they're just making YouTube videos or they've gotten into a million other things and they're no longer doing books hardly at all. Although you can still learn, but I recommend that type of thing and asking questions and learning that way. You'd be amazed what you can learn in these Facebook groups. You're out there sourcing. Literally, you could be out there sourcing, unsure about whether you should pick up this book. Take a picture of it and say, "Hey guys, what do you think? Is this book worth picking up?" And people will chime in within like minutes. You should get responses because there's thousands of people on these forums, and at any given moment on any given day, people are looking at the feed, looking at the group, and answering questions. People can be really helpful. So I would just go that route. Those accumulated knowledge base there. There's even a thread in one of the Facebook groups where it's like the Holy Grail book thread, and people post books that they've sold for a lot of money. Most of the books are going for either close to 100 or for hundreds of dollars. So these are books to like bolos or whatever. Not books you're going to find all over the place, but these are ones just to keep an eye out on and to know, especially certain ones that might look like they wouldn't be worth any money, and it turns out that they're worth $200-300. So like I found some books that I didn't know about. Like there's the one book called, is it Margin of Safety or something? It's a finance book written in the 90s that has gone for anywhere between $800 to $2,000 on Amazon. That is very much still sought after, but there's not a ton of copies. So when it's up there, it is going for some amazing money. Margin of safety. I'm gonna see if I can find it here. Margin of Safety. Is that what it's called? There it is. Hardcover. Actually, wow, it's not going for as much as it used to. Let me show you. Margin of Safety. This is the hardcover. So what's the rank? The rank is currently 1.1 million. And I will go over here to see all of them. So it's really gone down a lot. Look at that. Somebody, Goodread Books, for some reason has a price at $690. But what's more realistic, or not realistic, but what's more, the prices that I've seen are these: $888, $949. One FBA offer for $1,050. And they even took pictures of it, which makes sense. That's a good idea for this type of book. That's one of the books that if you find, and you can even sell it for $690, it's pretty amazing. Let's see. Oops. Ugh. So here we go. Look at consistently, it's the prices are up here in 800s, and then it drops down to 690. So last time it sold was May 21st, so it just sold for minimum 750. But you can see, so in the last 3 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times it has sold.
Dude.
Exactly.
Dude.
If you find that one, you're going to make some nice cash. Over the whole year, oops, it has sold a bunch of times. I mean, not as many as you would think, but look where the price went down here to 530 for some reason. 650. Anyway, that's a book to look for. Sled Driver is another. Whoopsie. Sled Driver is this one. Look at this one. This is another one that I've learned about through the Facebook groups. This is one that 489,000 rank. Let's see. We'll look it up on Keepa, but I will show you. As you can see, the prices are, there's only 6. So it's very, what do you call it? Wow. It's in demand, but there's not a very big supply. There's not very many copies out there. This is one that's hard to find. I've seen a couple people post about it in the Facebook groups. So 420. And what? Doesn't provide data. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's some things that I learned on in the Facebook groups. Certain books that those are 2 examples of books that keep your eyes out for. I haven't found either of those, but it's because they're pretty rare. They're not just sitting around. But you never know. You could come across those. So anyway, you guys are super quiet today, which is, I guess, because it's Saturday. So I want to talk about. I was going to ask you guys questions. I don't know if you guys will respond about the situation that I'm in, the positive situation with because of the Facebook ads that I'm running, the video ad. I have had a response. I got a response from someone who was a friend of a family member who was closing down a used bookstore locally. And I met with the lady, and I talked about this a couple of days, or yesterday maybe. Excuse me. She's the daughter of the woman who runs the bookstore. And she has to close the bookstore down because her mother is no longer can run it herself, and she has no interest in running it, which is typical, right? In a family, that a business, you can't always pass it down to the next generation because the next generation might not actually be interested in that business. So then, it's not, the business is just going to go away, close down unless they can sell it to somebody. So she's looking to she's looking to get rid of the books. However, she did say to me, which I mentioned briefly the other day, is that she said, well, what about you taking over the store? And the lease would have to be between me and the leasing party. But she basically says, it would be really, my mother would love the idea of someone continuing in that space with a bookstore and have it be open, in the community, because clearly she loves books, and that's what she did for decades, selling books with her husband, and versus just me buying the books or cherry picking or whatever it may be. So I've been thinking about it, and I want to pose this to you guys and tell me what you think if you were in this situation. Because I have my warehouse space, which I lease, and which I'm building my brand there. And this bookstore is in the same city that I'm in. It's just completely on the other side of it. So it's a big city. in Southern California. And so this one, I'm on the very, very far eastern border of it, and this one is like in the downtown area, which has been revived the last years going back. It's kind of come back, become trendy, and so there's people walk by that business. People just walk in that never heard of it. They see, oh, a bookstore, and they walk in. Um, anyway, so it's got that kind of. It already has a bit of a following. I mean, it doesn't have like a huge Facebook following because they weren't really utilizing their online presence, but people have been going there. That it's been in that location for I think close to 15 years, and so it's known, right? So you have those years behind it. The last few years, apparently, the business slowed down because the woman was not able to really run it how it should be run. She wasn't replenishing the stock, wasn't getting rid of books that weren't selling, putting in other books. Certainly was not marketing it. Was basically just opening it up and just sitting in there and waiting for people to come in, and that was it. And inevitably, the business slowed down over the past couple of years, and now she's just not able to run it at all. She's just yeah. So anyway, so they proposed to me, why don't I take it over versus just buying the books? So basically, I would step in as we would make some sort of deal, whatever it would be. Either I would buy the books off of her or whatever, and then I would take over the lease. Her mother is paying next to nothing for this space. I mean, she's paying something, but it's very small amount. So I don't have no idea if the leasing party would give me that type of deal. But the current price that they're paying is insanely low. And I mean, you could make that. I could just open the doors, put some new books in there, take over their Facebook page, and just start getting that active again and say, hey, we're open for business and we have some new books on the shelves. Come on down. The other thing is, they were pricing pretty high. It's a used bookstore. And what they would do is they would take a book. Let's see if this has a price on it. Should. Yeah. So they take a book like Lincoln, right? Like this one I'm going to sell for $12-13 online. And so $35, right? For the hardcover, brand new, is $35. So half of $35 is, do the quick math, $17.50. So they would charge $17.50 for this book, 50% off the cover price. That's what she told me. That's what the daughter told me. Now that's crazy talk. If they were charging $17.50 for this, or even $15 in their used bookstore, no wonder people weren't buying, or they weren't selling as much. What I would do is I would turn around and sell this thing for $4 or $5. And this is in excellent condition too. I mean, this is practically new. And so that's the other thing. Not only would I replenish or change out some books, put some new titles out, but also do the marketing on Facebook, and which is not much. Just start interacting, start saying like, we're open, we're here, we have new books, new ownership, but we're gonna start providing books. And then they come in, and instead of paying $15 for that book, they see that it's $4 or $5. Chances are that they're going to buy it. That's the thing. Like used book prices here, I mean, you can't really be charging that much money. People really aren't going to load up on them for $15 a piece. Or even if the book was $10, $5 at most for that book. I might even do the same, where I charge a little bit more than what I do in my warehouse sale. $2 for paperback, $3 for hardcover. Maybe I'd charge $3 for paperback, $4 for hardcover in the bookstore. And guess what? Somebody walk in and see those prices, and especially someone who's been in there before, and usually they would pay for 5 books, they might pay $50, and instead they're going to pay, $25, half that, or $20 or whatever. Guess what? They're probably going to come back. They're probably going to buy a lot of books. They're probably going to tell it to people. So these are all ideas anyway. So either I have the opportunity to either buy the books off her, which is just a lot of books. I mean, they estimate that they have in the store. So on the sales floor, they have about 10,000 books. And then in this back workroom, they've got books boxed up and on shelves, another couple thousand books. So they estimate they have about 12,000 plus books in the bookstore. Um, most of them are already shelved. They have all the shelving. A lot of shelving is built into the walls. Everything's set up. The bookstore's ready to go. They could open the door and boom, bookstore. And people know about it. And it's been closed because of quarantine. So you open back up. Oh, yay, a bookstore's open. People are going to come in. They're going to go flooding in there. You know, with the current rules, it's sort of a narrow bookstore. I've been in there years ago. But so anyway, so I was talking to my wife about it. I was thinking about it. Initially, I was like, ooh, how am I going to have my warehouse sale, my space there, and promoting that? And then now I get into this business or get this space and lease it. Let's say it's even for a very, very reasonable, affordable price. You know, I can't do them together. Like I can't combine them because that's a bookstore, and I wouldn't want to. I'd want to leave that just as a bookstore because that's what it's known as, and there's not a lot of space. So I'd rather have it all be books or mostly be books. But I still want to sell records. I still want to sell CDs, DVDs, video games, audiobooks, all that stuff. So how would I do that? Because I thought, well, that space doesn't make sense to do that in. That should really stay a bookstore. I could break it up and put all this other stuff in there, but it's not really ideal for that. But then I thought, well, what if they're two separate businesses with two separate names? I could even leave the business, the bookstore, with the same name. I could just keep it. It's already, people know it as that. The people that know about it already know it by that name, and they know where it is. So why disrupt that? What do I care about the name, right? If as long as it's going to sell, as long as I can sell books in there, it doesn't really matter. So you just keep it the same name, everything the same, except I would run it. However, I thought, well, what if I hired somebody to be there? Because they were only open in the afternoon till the evening, 6 days a week. They didn't even open in the mornings or midday. They didn't open until like 2 o'clock, I think, and went until like 8. So 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, which is, what is that? 36 hours a week, basically. And they were closed, I think, Mondays, 1 day a week. And so what if I hired somebody to run that or to be there during the days that we would be open? I don't know what the right days would be. Maybe it would just be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from, I don't know, 10 to 8 or whatever. I'm not sure. But had somebody run that, and then, I'd clearly be my business, but they would be running it. So it'd have to be somebody that knows books, that's good with people, that can help promote the page, and just build that up, right? And then I would still focus on my warehouse sale and have that other one going. So anyway, so these are ideas that I'm thinking about. It's a lot to consider because it's already a lot to do what I'm doing in my warehouse space. But the great thing is, if I were to take over that other space, I'd have two places to put books, right? In the bookstore and in my warehouse sale as well. So anyway, tell me what you guys think. You guys are really quiet today. Tell me what you think about that. It's funny how things just can fall in your lap. And I'm looking for a lot of book donations, and then I end up finding an opportunity to potentially take over a bookstore that has been around a long time. There's a lot of goodwill around it. People like the store because of the people who owned it. Husband and wife had run it for a long time, and then the husband had died, and so the wife was running it, and then she got to the point to where she just wasn't able to do what needed to be done, and so it kind of went downhill. The sales went downhill, and they didn't change. They didn't change. They didn't lower prices. They didn't market it, whatever. So it's a good opportunity. So I'm debating it. I'm thinking about what to do with that. I'm not sure. If you you can't combine them and run the online sales out of the back, that would be a no for me. Right, but what if I hire somebody to run the bookstore? Um, you know, there's options where I can hire them and pay them hourly, or I could pay them. I could give them a portion of the profit of the business, and say, the harder you run it, the more money you make. Give, say 30-40% of the profit, and they run it for me and for themselves, and and I don't have to worry too much about it. That I have to check in and uh, provide them with more books. They can also solicit donations and trade-ins and say, "Hey guys, we take trade-ins, we take donations," which is what they got a lot. That's how they were able to keep their stock. Or before the husband had died, that was how they were able to keep their stock up, was through donations. Years and years ago, he apparently would go to estate sales and garage sales and the whole deal to buy books. But once he was unable to do that due to his health concerns, they just relied on donations, which, if you're a bookstore, makes sense. And you can promote that. Every time someone walks in, you can say, "Oh, yeah, also, we gladly take donations if you're looking to get rid of books, or we do sometimes do trade-ins, whatever." And people, guess what? They'll start bringing their books in, because people like to support a local bookstore wherever it is. People love that. They love that they can just go down there, pick up a book, especially for inexpensive, right? If it's not too expensive, load up on some books, support the local business in the community versus always going on Amazon to buy their books. And it just, people love that. They like to do it. It harkens back to old times. Old times, the 90s, the 2000s is when bookstores started to go out of business. I mean, there's been a resurgence the last few years, 5 years, however long, but resurgence recently in independent bookstores across the country. There's a lot more opening. I mean, pre-COVID-19, I understand normal conditions, that get a lot of local support. It's sort of like not a rejection of Amazon, but just like a coming full circle, where everyone was so excited about buying online, and then a lot of bookstores went out of business, like Borders, like Barnes and Nobles, closing a lot of stores, and other ones that were around back then. What was that one called? Was it Walden Books? Those are new books though, but even used bookstores closing. So now there's been this resurgence, and local bookstore owners are taking advantage of that, and trying to build up, that goodwill. And I mean, there's a lady who I found out about through FBA groups, reselling groups, that has a store in Illinois, and she has built it up. She's built up a fierce, large, loyal Facebook following, to the point to where she's got over 10,000 Facebook page followers. That's crazy, right? I've just surpassed 200, which for me is awesome for 5-10 books. I'm really excited about that. But she has over 10,000, and I'm reaching for that. I'm going to keep on pushing to get there. But she has gotten to the point to where her following is so good that she can just post. This is before COVID-19, but she's still doing it. It's just curbside pickups versus being open, where she will post that she has books. She got a new books. Oh, here's some Stephen King's. Here's some whatevers. And she'll put a photo of it and say, "Okay, who wants them?" And then people will literally comment below and say, "Oh, I want that Stephen King," or "Oh, I want that Grisham," or whatever. And then she'll sell them on Facebook and then say, "Okay, just come on down by Friday." And then I'll hold on to them. And then people go down and just buy them. Like, she won't even have to put them on the floor. And she's doing that now with non-book items. So she sells like scented candles, socks that a local person made that are like Harry Potter socks or whatever, all this other types of related merchandise. She was making like Mother's Day baskets, whatever, all different. I mean, she's hustling. And because she has such a big loyal following on Facebook, she doesn't even have to have her doors open. She just puts these things up and sells out. So that's the power of building up a following on Facebook on your page. If you have a local store, um, and that's what I'm shooting for. And that's what if I were to take over this bookstore, what I would do with that Facebook page is I would go crazy with it. I'd be running little ads, be maybe doing contests, whatever, just saying, hey, look, guys, we got all these books in, come and check it out, and just try to promote it that way, build up the following. Yeah, my Facebook page now, I'm up to 213 followers. So apparently there's people that like your page and people who follow your page. I don't really get the difference. I looked it up the other day. It still didn't really make that much sense to me. But anyway, I've broken the 200, which has been great. um, and people are responsive. I only have 200 followers, and people are super responsive. Like when I said, when I just said, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know, we haven't had a sale since March, and in the meantime, I've been able to stock the store with a lot of new stuff, and I don't know if we're gonna be open for a sale in June or July, but just wanted to let you know. And if that doesn't work out, that maybe we'll start doing one-on-one appointments." And people were super responsive, giving me thumbs up. A few people commented saying, "Let me know when you open." And that's a very small following that I have. Even if I get to 1,000 followers, it's going to be a huge difference. So anyway, these are things to consider for a new business. Hey, Michael. Good morning. Captions are cool. Okay. Haven't had any captions yet today. But anyway, so, oops. Oh, okay. Facebook ads are a great way to grow your page. Da, 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 da. The power is in getting people to share ad posts, especially video posts, with others. It's like they're giving you free advertising. Oh yeah, I've had people share my video ad multiple times. Another thing is too, people will like, or people will give a thumbs up, a smiley face or whatever for my video ad, and then once you go in there, you can see, click on that, and you can see all the names pop up of everybody that's given a thumbs up or whatever to the post. And then next to their name, you can just hit, you can send them, you can invite them to like the page. So I just send out all those invitations, and a good percentage of them actually end up liking the page and following it. So on Facebook, you kind of have to pay for your likes or your follows, but it's worth it. It comes back to you, especially if you're doing a local sale. So, I found the only other way is to have, you have to have a post shared a lot, but I've had a couple posts go mini viral. Like these are mostly memes that I've posted. And, I had one that ended up having like close to 5,000 views because it had been shared by someone else or multiple people, but I got no likes on my page for it. So just because it went mini viral, it doesn't mean that people are going to like your page. It seems to me like you have to run an ad saying, for me, when I've run ads for my monthly sale, I get people to follow my page. And now that I'm running this book donation ad, people are following me because of the ad. Some people do it on their own, and then I invite some people, and then they just end up following because of the invitation. So anyway, so I think those are some, well, I don't know. I'm losing my train of thought, but yeah, I'm debating about what to do with this opportunity that's fallen into my lap. So Michael, I guess you've been here watching, but I know Pat said that he would not do it, but everyone's in a different situation. I mean, I like the idea. That's the thing, is like, this is a way to almost immediately build another income, and it could be not like passive in the true sense of the word passive income, but partly passive, because if I hire somebody, find the right person to run it, then I am just basically like trying to keep my way out of it. Insert myself when I need to, but have someone else running it, which I totally get is hard to find someone who's trustworthy. Wife and I were talking. We were talking about a friend that we know who knows a lot about books, went to school for that, and has worked in libraries, but is struggling to find employment, or at least to find secure employment. And anyway, so like options like that, right, is finding somebody who would be a good fit to run it mostly. And I would be checking in a couple times a week, making sure everything's going well and helping them out whenever they need help, supplying more books, as many books as possible, and seeing what's working, what's not working. But that they would be there for the day-to-day hours of when it's open, whatever hours we decide upon in days, they would show up. They'd open the store. They would deal with taking the money. They would deal with putting more books out, making sure everything's organized, talking to people about giving us donations, all of that type of stuff. So it's a weird opportunity, in business. It's hey, if you want to grow beyond yourself, you want to have a business that that doesn't just gobble up all your time, and this is an opportunity for that. So anyway, I'm thinking about it. We'll see. Might need to talk to a lawyer about it. I don't know. We'll see what will happen. So I'll let you guys know. But anyway, guys, this is the end of Flippin' Live. It has been a quiet morning. I think the weekends are just quieter than during the week. But I appreciate everybody that's watched. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Hope you have a great Saturday. Play the song to get us out of here.
Flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live. We're gonna strive, we're here to learn and gonna earn. Flippin' live, flippin' live, flippin' live, we're flippin' live.
Oh, you're welcome, Michael. He says only donations. There's a lot of duds. Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I'm dealing with the duds right now, the donations. But what I like about it is, by owning my local warehouse sale, or having the local warehouse sale, and potentially having a bookstore, legitimate bookstore with a retail spot, is that you can sell duds locally. But definitely, using eBay and that type of thing can be another way. Oh, you too, Pat. Have a great day, Pat. Michael, thank you. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. If you're watching this in the future as well, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. I appreciate all of you that come and watch. This is our daily live streaming show where we talk about reselling and try to engage and learn from each other. So thank you for watching, guys. Keep booking, as I always say, and have a great Saturday. Maybe you can go to some thrift stores opened. Maybe there's some garage sales. Who knows? Maybe you can source today. Maybe not. But hopefully you're able to, or maybe do some listing, or just relax. It's the weekend. Relax, right? Hang out. Read a book. Whatever it may be. Have a great Saturday. And stay safe, guys. Make sure and stay safe. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.